right? Without looking it up in the book, if I had pharyngitis or I had pharyngitis with pneumonia, which one is more likely to be an NOS code? The pharyngitis, because I don't know anything else about it. Take a look at page 16, and let's talk about the definition that the book gives you of what those two abbreviations mean. The abbreviation NEC, not elsewhere classified, is used in the alphabetic, or classifiable, it used to be classifiable, I'm glad they've changed it to classified, is used in the alphabetic index to indicate that there is no separate code for the condition, even though the diagnostic statement may be very specific. Example. Write your example right there if you think you're going to have trouble remembering it. Herpes zoster versus herpes zoster of the leg. Now, herpes zoster of leg is very specific, and you think you're going to find a code for it. But when you look it up, you realize there is no separate code for the condition, even though the diagnostic statement may be very specific. Then NOS, not otherwise specified, is the equivalent of unspecified. Why didn't they just say unspecified? I don't know. That would have made a lot more sense. It's used only in your tabular. All right, codes so identified are to be used only when neither the diagnostic statement nor the medical record provides information that permits classification to a more specific code. So the only time you're going to use an NOS is when you cannot find more specific information to enable you to code it more accurately. Now, in a hospital inpatient chart, is there going to be a great likelihood or a small likelihood that you'll be using an NOS code? Small likelihood, because you should have more information in the chart. Now, the doctor may not have written it on the front sheet of the chart, but you're not coding just from the front sheet of the chart. You're coding from the whole medical record. So you should be able to find the information that you need. All right, now let's turn it around and you're coding in a doctor's office. And all you've got is that encounter form that the doctor wrote on before the patient walked out the door. And they didn't put much in the medical record. Now, are you more inclined toward having to use NOS codes, or are you less inclined? You're more inclined. You shouldn't be, because the documentation in the doctor's medical record should be as detailed as the documentation in the inpatient record. It typically is not, though. Just typically is not. Okay, cross-references. There are 4 different cross-references that you're going to need to be familiar with. There's C. That's a direct order. It says, go to this other place right now. Don't stop. Go to this other place right now. There's C also, which says, if you don't like this one where we are right now, here, go try that other one out, because that might be a little bit better. So C is a direct demand, and C also is a suggestion. Okay, take a look at hemarthrosis traumatic. Look up hemarthrosis in the alphabetic. When I look up hemarthrosis and I find traumatic hemarthrosis, what does it tell me to do? All right, go to hemarthrosis. Watch the spelling. It's the spelling on that one that generally gets you. Now, under hemarthrosis, find traumatic hemarthrosis. Well, what is hemarthrosis? Heme, blood, arthro, joint, osis, condition of. So you've got blood in your joint. It's a traumatic one. What does trauma mean? Due to an injury of some sort. All right, somebody hit me in the knee with a baseball bat. I've got blood in my knee. I've got a hemarthrosis, a traumatic one, don't I? All right, so I go to hemarthrosis. And underneath that, I find traumatic, and what does it tell me to do? See sprain, comma, by sight. Now, wait a minute, don't turn just yet. Sprain is capitalized. That in itself tells you to go to the word sprain. And then the by sight means when you get to sprain, look at the site of where the hemarthrosis is. All right, so now let's go to sprain. Well, we don't have a site listed on our little diagnostic statement there, so let's make one up. Let's make one up of ankle. So now I go to sprain by site. I don't look for the word by, I look for the site of the injury. The site of the injury is the ankle. Do I find a code? Yes, I do. If it's just the ankle, what's the code? 0.00. Now, before we go any further, what do you know about 800 and 900 codes? You're kind of sort of there. They're injuries. They're injuries. Was this an injury? Yes, it was a traumatic hemarthrosis. So, yep, we're in the right, we're in the right area of the code book. All right, I know that when I have an 800 or a 900 code, I can not only code what the diagnosis was, but I have another set of codes that I can use to show how that accident occurred. Do you remember from last week what those codes are that tell us how an accident occurred? E-codes. E-codes. Just want to throw that in there so you can start hearing it over and over. All right, so that's a direct order. We couldn't get a code there under hemarthrosis for traumatic if we had wanted one because there wasn't one to choose from. We had to follow the directions. All right, now though, let's look up psychosis, schizophrenia, schizophrenic. So we're looking up a schizophrenic psychosis.